So today Trump is deploying the National Guard into Washington, D.C. and saying he's going to take control over the local authorities there in order to take control of the city? Which is strange because not a lot's really happening. But this is openly telling of his authoritarian plans because he's been declaring for a long time that he was going to do this, whether there was crime or not. And crime is actually at an all-time low in Washington, D.C. right now. And he had a press conference leading up to this, and one of the dumbest things that he did was he put Judge Jeanine Pirro up there to talk, who said that she wanted to bring felony charges against young teenagers, to which he praised her afterwards. This is the same Jeanine Pirro who, before the election in 2016, said that Hillary could not be elected president because of the assumed scandal around her, not even any actual convictions. Then when it was time for Trump in 2024, she completely ignored all of that and didn't care that he had 34 felonies. Because these people are disingenuous fuckwits. Now people are saying that Trump does not have the authority to deploy the National Guard or take over the police force. That's not necessarily true. He does, but it's incredibly limited. In DC, he does have the authority to temporarily send National Guard troops in if the local authorities cannot handle what's going on. Which, like I said, there's no massive protest, there's no riots going on in DC. And anything that he does to take over the local police has to be incredibly limited. But he's sitting here saying that he wants to do it for 30 days, and he wants to spread it to other cities. But a full permanent takeover would require Congress to repeal or amend the Home Rule Act, which grants sovereignty and authoritative rule to the city. But all he can do is declare an emergency, and even then, it's temporary. Now this all depends on if he actually pays attention to the courts, because the second this happens, you know it's going to be lawsuit city again, just like in LA. Of course, we all know this is always about ego, and Trump has been increasing his threats for a federal takeover of DC after one of his members of Doge was assaulted. Young Edward Korestein, who goes by the nickname Big Balls, was apparently assaulted during a carjacking, in which he was beat up by a couple of teenage girls. They really don't like that, being the alpha males that they are. So Trump's response is to take over the whole city, because that makes sense. This right here says it all, ladies and gentlemen. He and the MAGA have been going on for years about how he didn't have the authority to deploy the National Guard on January 6th. He couldn't do that. That was all Nancy Pelosi's fault. And we were going round and round for years about this, about how Nancy Pelosi doesn't control the National Guard. She doesn't even control the Capitol Police. And the MAGA were like, no, Trump couldn't have called the National Guard, blah, blah, blah. Because he was sitting there for 3 hours in the White House dining room gleefully watching all the chaos. But once again, let's point this out for people. Go over to the District of Columbia National Guard's website. You can find it right up here, dc.ng.mil. Scroll all the way down to where it says Site Map, and once you click that, it'll say About Us. You'll get this lovely little paragraph here that tells you all about the DC National Guard and about how they report solely to the President of the United States, unlike the other National Guards in their states who report to the governor. Because it is not a state, the DC National Guard is very unique in that sense that they report only to the President of the United States. And it says so right on their fucking website. So everybody's sitting there claiming that he couldn't have called the National Guard in to help with the insurrection, yet he's allowed to do it now and just deploy the National Guard on the streets of DC because he feels like it? Even though crime is at record lows and there's no riots or anything going on? Pick a fucking lane because you guys really have no clue what you're talking about.